Hola!
So much to talk about, so little time.
I know it. Who is going to be the new Indiana football coach? Who is it? Come on, kids.
It looks like Curt Cignetti.
Tell people who Curt Cignetti are, because I guarantee you there are 10 people before this week that knew the name Curt Cignetti.
He is a high-energy 62-year-old who has won everywhere he's gone, but it's been Indiana, Pennsylvania, Elon, a school you're familiar with, and James Madison.
Good for him. 62 years old. You're telling me he's older than Mallory when he got fired.
Yeah, Mallory was 61 when he got fired. He walks in the door, I believe, as the oldest football coach in the history of the program.
Yeah, and what you're saying is you're not saying he's the oldest starting. You're saying nobody will ever be on the sidelines older than him, whether it's old Dickens, Charlie Dickens or whatever, or
Bo
Joe
McMillan.
There's no way John Pont wasn't older. John Pont was 170 years old.
But he took another job. He went to Northwestern out of IU. They wouldn't have hired him 64, 65 then, would they? I don't know. I don't know how. John Pont lived a long time.
John Pont was...
He was alive until maybe 15 years ago.
John Pont was gray-haired and old but that doesn't mean anything because when you're a kid, you think everybody over 30 is old, right?
Right.
If he's older than John Pont, when John Pont went, hey Siri, what's John Pont's last year in Indiana? It'll be 120 years
72.
old. It was 72?
Yeah.
And then Corso came in 73?
Yep.
So in 1972, yeah, you're right. 1972, Pont was like 40-some years old. 45 years old.
Young guy.
He was a kid.
40... How do you hire somebody that young? My God.
Oh my God almighty.
Curt Cignetti was really, really good on the Pat McAfee show when they did College Game Day at James Madison. He was really good, really high energy, but what that was, I think, was more a job interview than anything else.
He knew that too.
Yeah, I think so.
He pissed me off, Cignetti did, because they were undefeated, and I'm glad I didn't bet it. They were playing Appalachian State, and they got their ass beat by App State. Well, good for him, man. I mean, James Madison is a tough job. Look, you're 62 years old, and you got a chance of a lifetime to coach a Big Ten job. That's a great thing.
But the sad thing is that lifetime is now very truncated. You have a tight window to squeeze that joy into.
Yeah, but a long time to have that cash. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but Indiana's going to pay here, right? I mean,
you would think.
You know, they got to. I was texting with Scott Dolson. His thing was, I got to get this right. Well, I know, but how do you get it right? You get it right by getting the right guy, and you got to pay the right guy.
But you better pay the right guys.
Yeah.
You better make it plural. You better get a staff that can go out there and comb the countryside, go recruit people, and go recruit your own. They're losing 18 guys in the portal right now. You got to get some of those cats back because this can't be a 2-year rebuild. This got to be.
How can it not
get people?
How can it not
don't hire a 62-year-old guy.
So you think if I don't care if they hired Lombardi in his prime. This is not turning over. You got 4 high-powered teams coming into the league. 3 of whom, UCLA does not have it figured out, but 3 of whom absolutely have the NIL figured out.
Yep.
You could argue that 2 of them, Oregon and Washington, are at the high end of NIL money. How is it not? I don't care who you hire. How is it not at least a 2-year?
Well, let's define what rebuild is.
I was going to say.
What are we renovating toward?
What are we doing?
We know what we're doing.
We
know what Indiana is going to try to stay out of the bottom. Indiana is more interested in getting out of the cellar than it is getting to the penthouse.
Right now.
Yeah, they want a 3rd floor condo would be fine for them. They don't need the penthouse. They don't need the Dave Checkett suite up on top of the building overlooking whatever. They're happy just as long as you don't just point at teams this way. You got to say Rutgers sucks. That's something.
You really, if you want to know what you got to do, you got to look down and see Purdue. You've got to look down and see Purdue. You can't be looking up at Purdue. You can't. The state is called Indiana, and I don't care how bad it's been for how long, and it has been. But you got to be able to look down at Purdue when you're talking. I mean, if you're talking about talking about goals, that has to be in your goals. It has to be.
Well, then you better spend to go get it.
That's what I'm saying,
You gotta listen to Matt Rule. Matt Rule says that quarterbacks $1 million to $2 million a year for a good quarterback in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
So go get guys.
I think Osterman had that thing where Indiana's going to have more money this year in the NIL. There's like a $5 million deal or something. That's exactly my reaction to it. Was like, really, okay. Who planted that for Osterman,
exactly.
right? Osterman hadn't figured it. Somebody wants that out to make because one of the things that's happening here is former players are kind of pissed and they're saying, you guys didn't support this program. You guys haven't given CTA to Coach Tom Allen. You didn't do all this. You didn't do all that. So now all of a sudden Osterman comes out with this thing like, well, there's going to be $5 million or whatever. That's crap. Stop it.
If the athletic department, and I know NIL is complicated as far as using athletic funds to fund NIL stuff. I get it. But if you got money just coming in quicker than you can count it, and you come to me for my cash, I'm sorry, I'm going to turn a deaf ear to your ass immediately. I don't care if you never beat Purdue. It isn't going to be on my dime. You spend your own money to go put this football program on the rails and then come to me and say, hey.
What does spending... See, this is my confusion. I thought Indiana built a state-of-the-art weight room. I thought Indiana did one of those videos where the players ran into the locker room and couldn't believe what they were... And now all these former players are like, well, you never spent any money. I paid attention here. I remember seeing this weight room underneath the stadium was the biggest thing since Nebraska, and this new weight room and
the flagpole. My God, the flagpole.
Oh, good for you. And the rock right there. But what is spending money other than paying for assistants?
Yeah.
All right. What is spending money? What is that? I guess it's NIL now, right?
You know what? The Mellencamp Pavilion looks like it's 40 years old.
It's outdated. Yeah, I get that.
And then the stadium, I mean, if you're going to, like at the big house, you look at the big house, and even though it's older than dirt, you're like, wow, this is something. And you go to Columbus and you look at that stadium, you're like, wow. You go to Indiana and you go, hey, how'd I get dropped off at Carrollton High School in, Texas?
I know. And I'm going to tell you this, and this is simply window dressing, but they got to get. First thing I would do as an athletic director, if I cared about football, I would go to Mellencamp Center. I want that to be great. The other thing I would do is I'd get rid of that damn press box in the football field. That thing would be gone. I don't care if we play without a press box for 5 years. That thing is awful. That thing looks like, yes, Carrollton High School, Massillon High School, whatever. I'd put beautiful suites. I mean, I would make that thing look at least like it's whoa.
Well, and I guess they put in field level suites that are like, card table chairs. Okay. And there's no bar, there's no food. It's just field level.
It might be a little landlocked because it's all that freaking limestone that goes up. It's the same building as Assembly Hall. It's the exact same building as Assembly Hall. But the truth of the matter is, you got to spend on coaches. Okay, all right. If you're a coach and you're an up and comer, I understand money talks, but all you got to do is look at the history of Indiana football.
Yeah.
Now, I do think there are two assistants. One is DeBoer, and the other guy's down there, Cole.
King Womack.
Yeah. There's two guys that have left and become head coaches. And that was off of 2020, I believe, right? But if you look at the history, show me where coming to Indiana as a football coach has been a career advancer.
Instead of a career grade.
Grade.
Where's Tom Allen going to be a head coach again?
Oh, you're swimming upstream by associate. And I'm talking about assistants too.
Well, and we talk about this all the time. What recruits are going to come to Indiana because they believe it's a place where they can win? The answer is none. Coaches, is Curt Cignetti going to come to Indiana because he thinks he's going to a Rose Bowl or a college football playoff, and this is such a great opportunity to show his wares, or is he coming for a big-ass check? That's a question.
I think that most coaches will tell cynical. I think most coaches will tell you that, let me get in there. Let me have my culture. Let me have my... I mean, I always felt my dream job was to go to DePaul or go to Northwestern because I always felt you could win there. And Chris has won at Northwestern. But I look at Indiana, and I hate to say this, and I never I don't know if I ever really felt like Indiana could beat Michigan and Purdue, but I saw them, or Michigan and Ohio State. But I honestly feel, as we sit here right now, let's say it's December 1st, I don't feel like Indiana has a shot to compete for the Big Ten title. I don't. No, I'm not.
no.
I'm saying 5 years down the road, best case scenario, best coach, best assistants. I don't see, like, I think this league is, it's almost like relegation would be a better move for Indiana in football. Although Paulie Ball's, you and me have been going back and forth on it, but I would say you would have a better chance of being a national power outside the Big Ten as opposed to in the Big Ten as it's going to be constructed.
And then it is going to evolve. Can you imagine a scenario with all of the conference realignment that's going on, that Indiana and Ohio State 10 years from now are in the same conference? There's going to be a super conference. There's going to be a college version of the NFL.
Yeah.
And Indiana is not going to be in it.
Well, that might help Indiana. I think Indiana will be in it. I think I think there's going to be two major conferences. I think there's going to be the Big Ten and the SEC. And like the NFL, you're going to have East and South and West in each of these divisions. That's what I see coming.
Okay.
So if Indiana could get lucky and get into what is now, for sake of argument, what the Big Ten West is.
Yeah.
Now, being in the Big Ten East, you're fucked.
Right.
Right. And if you just brought these schools, now, go ahead.
But if you're in there with Purdue, Illinois, Wisconsin,
Wisconsin,
you got a chance.
You got a chance, no matter how good Wisconsin has been. Right.
Yeah.
No, it's so that's where the hope is, I guess. That realignment.
Man, we are so programmed to find hope.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We're like spelunkers in a dark cave with a little match trying to. Hey.
I see gold in here somewhere. There's not a bear going to eat my ass, but there's gold in here.
But we'll do it.
Yeah,
I will mind screw myself into believing that Curt Cignetti is absolutely the right guy. It's going to take me 48 hours, but I will get that done.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I am. I'm with you.
I thought the same thing with Cameron. I
thought with Cameron.
DiNardo, you saw what he did at LSU.
I never felt DiNardo, but I did feel with Cameron.
Yeah.
I did. I remember he came in my office like the day he got hired, sat down. I go, let me tell you what you should do. You got to run, because Mallory was boring, all that stuff. You got to run a double reverse halfback pass and throw it over everybody's head, just to let everybody in Indiana know that this is a different deal. You know what I mean? I thought I thought, and then he's recruiting and he's got people involved. He's got his lawyer, Bob Stevenson. I'm like, oh man. And then it just, he must have pissed everybody off, because his record actually isn't as horrible as some of these. And they got rid of him as fast as they could.
And DiNardo came in on the back end for those 3 years. Those are the worst 3 years. They were 8-27. I looked this up the other day. The only 3 years I can find in Indiana, like in the last half century, that were worse than the previous 3 years were the 3 years of DiNardo.
I told you, I tried to get Terry Claypax to hire Urban, and they patted me on the head. Oh, Danny, we've got our guy. Thank you for calling. I'm like, no, you don't understand. But so therein lies the issue. You got a guy who did it well at the 1AA level.
Yeah. And
he did it well this year. He got him into he got him into the top 25, and but Big Ten's a different deal, man. I mean, God dang. And you're telling me, here's the problem I have, okay? And this is just me now officially morphing into being a fan. You're telling me that's the best you can come up with at a Big Ten school, going to pay $5-10 million? Yeah. That's the best?
Michigan State goes out and gets a guy who's running a top 15 program, brings him in, brings in his staff, and you can bet they all got bumps. And Indiana's going to James Madison to get a 62-year-old, and I hate saying it, and I promise you that by the time we talk next, I will have rewired myself to believing. Yeah. But this is not. There's no hope here. There's just not.
Like you should. All right, let's go through the programs. Like why? Well, let me ask you a simple question. Why should Iowa always be better than Indiana in football?
Yeah.
Why should Wisconsin always be better than Indiana in football? There's no way you can tell me Rutgers should be better. Well, I mean, there's a shit ton of players in New Jersey that were always good, but come on, you tell me Michigan State, with Michigan sitting right there, should be better? You're telling me Purdue should be better?
Go back with Michigan State to what they had, right? Completely forgot his
Antonio?
name. Yeah, Mr. Grim.
Yeah, Mr. Fun.
Stern,
Mr. Happy.
So others that, like, go back to him.
Yeah.
And then you've got Ferentz.
Yeah.
And
Well, you got
you've
Christ
got
and Alvarez.
Schiano,
Yeah.
you know, and right. Who at Indiana, after Mallory, was any Tiller at Purdue, Brom at Purdue? Who at Indiana has been even in their ballpark from a coaching perspective?
No.
Like, Bill Lynch was the nicest guy in the history of people. Tom Allen, he's a
high school coach.
golly, yeah.
No, I don't think.
I'll tell you here. This I'm going to talk about media for just a second,
Please,
because there's nobody in the media who privately wouldn't say exactly what we're saying, but publicly they're all like, "Oh, this is fantastic, Curt Cignetti, wee!" No, no. They're lying to you. That's not what they think. I talk to these people on the regular. Some of them.
well,
some of them.
you know this. Media has become access media.
Right.
It's like, I want access. I want to be able to say I talked to Steichen or whatever. And you've also seen, and Jason Kidd just did this, you've also seen media, coaches and players fire back at media. Like, why don't you write something positive? You know, so it's not just this blanket shield anymore, right?
Deion Sanders.
Yes.
Coming at people hard.
Yes. There's been a lot of it lately. There's been a whole lot of it. So,
why are they reading stuff? This is what I don't get. If I'm making millions of dollars a year to coach a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds, I'm going to spend my free time reading what people like me write about.
People are, it's human nature. It's human nature. I'll tell you this. I read, when I came to internet coach in Indiana, I'm like, I ain't reading nothing.
Right.
I told my wife, I know we get the paper, but you get it every night. I ain't reading a damn thing. I don't need to read a damn thing. I know what's going on. And I did the same thing at Bowling Green, so I get your point. But I don't have an answer. I've never been in that position where I'm making millions. I would love to have sat in that seat where I knew that I didn't, like Izzo. Izzo's just like, yeah, okay. But to back to IU football.
Yeah.
What would give you hope? That's a question. What would be like, man, would Gruden have been the guy?
Yes.
I think so too.
Because Gruden's going out and getting 5-star kids, and they're going to come to play for him.
That's what I'm saying.
I think quarterbacks would. You can learn. You can develop under a guy like John Gruden yourself, if you've got the requisite amount of talent, into a real NFL guy. He can turn you loose into the NFL, and you can be productive.
I know, and he wanted the job. Now, I don't know whether or not Cignetti has already signed on. I mean, things are moving fast, people. Things are moving fast. I don't know. Indiana told me, not Gruden or not others, but they told me that, you know what? They weren't interested in Gruden. Okay. I mean, that's fine. But you're going to sell to us. You're going to sell to us, the James Madison coach, to compete against a fan base, a group in Ohio State whose coach is 39-3 and we're pissed and we want him fired, to compete against Michigan, to compete against USC, even though their history, to compete against the NIL stuff of Oregon and Washington. You think about this, Ken. I think I saw this. I think other than Georgia, I think 5 of the top 6 teams are all in the college football rankings are all Big Ten teams next year.
Really?
I think so. I think Ohio State's 6th, Oregon, Washington, Michigan. Oregon, Washington, Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia's over here. Who am I missing?
USC?
No, they're not. No,
because
yeah,
Williams
terrible
is
year.
going to be gone.
No. I'm talking about in the current college football playoff rankings.
Oh.
5 of the top 6 teams will be in the Big Ten next year. You see what I'm saying?
Okay,
I don't think I said that right.
So Oregon, Washington, Michigan, Ohio State.
Georgia's one of them, but they're outside of it. I'm going to look it up right now. But I looked this up. I'm like, my God, this is what I'm saying. I don't know how Indiana, unless this guy is Houdini. Oh, I'm sorry, 4 of the 6. Florida State's in there. Florida State's
Right.
So 4 of the 6 are
Well, you can't compete with them. But I'm cool being like the best of the rest.
I know.
It'll be okay, but how the hell are you even going to compete with Rutgers? I don't know whether Cignetti's as good a coach as Schiano. How do we know that? I mean, and UCLA is kind of the train wreckish type program that's coming in.
Yeah.
They got Chip Kelly.
Yeah, I know. That's what. So to your point, hope is lost.
All lost. It's gone. But we will find a way.
We will.
To rewire our synapses to shine like it's like thirsty people in the desert. They see palm trees, they see a lagoon. Oh my God, we've got to go that way. This is what we do every single time. The only moments of genuine hope as an Indiana football fan come during these periods between coaches.
Yeah.
That's when you think, hey, we got a shot. And then it's, oh, wait a minute. You know, we're Indiana, and now we've got nothing wrong with Curt Cignetti. He may be like the human being of human beings and a wonderful football coach who next year goes 6-6 and Indiana goes to a bowl and we get very happy. Who knows?
Do you think that the fact that Indiana had to pay Allen all of this money, you know, and I know it's donor money, but I always wonder how this works. Does it hinder the money going into the football program? Because $15 million buy you a lot. $15 million buy. I don't either. I don't know how.
Texas A&M just spent $76 million,
but and
they went and hired a guy.
But I saw their check for $176 million that was donated at the game that what's his face got fired after. That was given to the athletic department. I don't know.
We got guys that are well heeled.
I'm a
Cuban. Let's go.
If you were Cuban, would you?
No.
I know.
He wants return on investment.
Right.
He's not some fool.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, now somebody that would be smart would say, well, you know, guys of that ilk, they got to donate a certain amount of money. Is IU a 501(c)(3) though you can get tax break on it? I assume it is. I assume you can get a tax break because the athletic department isn't part of the university, supposedly.
If you're not getting a tax break on those donations, like Cindy Simon Scott is not some fool.
No.
She gave $47 million, and now it's Simon Scott Assembly
Hall. I'm just saying, it's just look, at the end of the day, what'd you say, 19 is it now, football players in Indiana left?
18 are in the portal, but that was yesterday.
Yeah.
Could be as many as 26.
You know what? That's a good thing for a coach, though. He will get to decide, nope, I can get these 3 kids from here. You know, the interesting thing in college football, and we don't really deal with it here in Indiana, is what's going on at Notre Dame. Notre Dame fired their wide receiver coach. A bunch of kids have left. And they're going to once again take a quarterback on a 1-year deal, the kid from Duke.
Yeah, right.
Like that I don't like that.
No.
I mean, I guess that's how you maintain, but can you imagine if your son had gone to Notre Dame and was recruited to be a quarterback? Yeah, you're going to sit your first year.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And then they just keep piling on.
1-year guys.
Grad guys.
Yeah.
I
mean, what are we doing?
Yeah. I think that's, and so it's become that kind of tiered system. It's almost like minor league baseball. You come out of high school, you go to a MAC school.
Yeah.
You put together 2 years. You go to an FBS. You put in 2 years, and then you go to play for a championship at the major league place. That's crazy to me.
It's crazy.
It's not what it should be.
So if it's not Cignetti, I'm not really hearing anybody else.
The name that kept coming up yesterday was Christ. I'm glad they moved off Christ. Because who is the sideline person who was talking about making stuff up in the halftime?
Clarissa Thompson?
Yeah. I would prefer that if I were the producer of the broadcast, I'd say, look, don't talk to Paul Christ. We don't want him on camera. You just make stuff up that's plausible that he may have said. That's how charismatic Paul Christ is.
I'm going to give you a story. Paul Christ came on my show. And Paul Christ's brother was the commissioner of the MAC, Rick Christ. So I forget if it was Rick or another guy, Andy North. I can't remember if it was Rick Christ or Andy North. But after the interview, Andy North is a big Wisconsin booster.
Right.
And I think it was North. Maybe now I'm thinking about it was North. He goes, "You're the greatest interviewer ever." I go, "Why?" He goes, "You actually made Paul Chris sounded like he had a personality, and he actually laughed. I go, really? I go, I don't know. He goes, oh no, you're the greatest interviewer ever. It was like the best compliment I ever got, because this no personality goof doesn't ever do anything but badger up. So, all right, here's another question, and I held on to this question for you specifically. I've been in and around the football building twice. Once, both times broadcasting games. Once I was there at the game. And they had Leo everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Does Leo come down?
Oh, yeah.
It comes down like...
Leo's gotta go.
Gotta go.
I want HEO. I want the opposite of everything that Tom Allen espoused. Hate everyone. Let's get hating and let's get winning. Because obviously love brings losing.
Yeah.
And L is an easy lose.
Yeah.
Like how many funny versions of LEO have been,
Yeah. Lose each other, whatever you want, lose whatever. No,
lose
but
every...
I'm sitting there thinking this was such a built-up mantra of this, of not only the football program, but the entire sport academic. Just we are loving each other, and now we're just going to go take a little bit of paint. Hasta la vista. It's not a mantra of the university. Like the Rock, Terry Hepner's Rock. Okay, that stays. And Fisher talks about it.
Well, it would cost a lot of money to get it out of there. Yeah, you'd have to bring in a backhoe or some kind of crane.
It's a heavy rock.
It's a heavy rock. And then put it back in the quarry where they found it.
Yeah. You drop it off one of those things from breaking away. Just watch it splash. Love is for losers. That's right, Gritty. Yeah. So you're going to have to repaint all the LEO.
Yeah.
All right.
Sadly. Hey, what of Bob Knight's era lasts at Assembly Hall? Anything?
I haven't been in the locker room. I haven't been in
It's
there.
all done. It's all redone.
Yeah.
There's no way they kept the Dick Vermeil saying up there, don't complicate winning. It's gone.
If someone were going to ask me, what would I have liked to take? Now I just thought of this. I remember I would like to have taken we had a goals board for every game, and I would have liked to have taken that. I wish I would have taken that. I should have stolen that on my way out. It was got to be somewhere.
You know what? Stealing stuff on the way out is an underrated.
Oh, it's a great one. It's beautiful.
Hey, there's a Crystal Award that we won in 2009. I kind of like that thing. Yeah, all right. And they don't know.
I took every videotape of every one of my practices because I'm like, you know what? And I used to tell the managers, turn the volume off, mute it, because I don't want to hear me motherfucking everybody every day. So I took them and I threw them away. I'm like, I don't need these.
Smart.
Things. Yeah, I was a thinker.
Delete the files. Subpoena for what? I'm sorry, we have no such videotape.
All right, so that looks like where we're headed. We're going to go with Cignetti, and we're going to be very happy. I've taken some hymnals from previous churches that had the church's name on them. That's Van Pasterman. He's the patron saint of our morning show. You can catch him on the Hoosier. He's a frequent contributor to the message boards. But he's a great dude. But yeah, you got to take something. Maybe there's a big Leo statue that everybody had to touch on the way, like into each meeting at every place, like little hermit thing, like Doyle or Boyle brings that Chucky or Stewie thing with him all the time.
Yeah.
Like maybe there's a little Leo. We need a Leo. Can't. Leo's gone. Leo. Hey, Coach. Thanks. Leo.
You know what? I wonder if Tom Allen trademarked that. If he service marked LEO, it might be illegal for Indiana to utilize LEO. Tom Allen might own it.
Good for him.
Yeah. Try to use that to put your kid through college.
Yeah. All right. God bless you. Hey, Colts Titans.
Yeah.
Give me some thoughts. You're going to be. Are you going?
Yep.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, we're leaving tomorrow morning. I can't wait.
I've
been to Nashville since you played in the NCAA tournament.
That was in '82.
Yeah.
That was against Chipper Harris. Robert
Lost
Morris.
to UAB?
Second round, yeah.
UAB fans were obnoxious. We were like, you're from UAB, you're from Birmingham, shut up. What's the matter with you? They were yelling at us from their car with pom-poms.
No, that was a bad ride home.
I don't know.
That was a really bad
Did you
ride.
bus?
No, flight.
Oh,
That
okay.
was bad. I remember we played against Robert Morris. Chipper Harris led the country in steals, and I remember bringing the ball up against them. I'm like, oh, this ain't good. Like, I didn't play a whole lot. Then the UAB game,
that's not a good feeling. No.
2 minutes in, I'm like, man, this Oliver Robinson's better than anybody we got. Anyway, I digress. But no, we're going to be in Nash Vegas. Look, the Titans stink. The Titans are not good.
No,
Will
their
Levis,
offensive line is a mess.
No, they are. And this is a game, again, that the Colts have an opportunity against a bad team to set some things straight.
And this is actually a game where I think Gus Bradley's defensive schemes kind of work. Because what he's about is keeping the top on the defense, and Levis wants to throw beyond it.
Right.
So good for him. Let's confuse his ass, get him in a muddy pocket, and get him to throw to us. I think that can happen.
I feel like the thing you've always got to do, and I do think the Colts are okay at this, is you got to handle Henry. You've got to handle him. You just, you got to, I don't know if the Colts are a good tackling team. I don't think they're a great tackling team, but you've got to be able to tackle in this game. You do. And you know what I was
They're better since Leonard left.
Well, he didn't want to tackle.
Right.
Did you see what he said? No. He's going to the team that has a chance to go the farthest. I think he's talking about Philadelphia.
In Dallas?
Yeah, okay. Okay. He'd be on special teams running out of bounds. What are we doing, Ken? Grover Stewart, that is a good point, Russell. Grover Stewart would be big in this game.
Yep.
His big fat ass in the middle there would be very big in this game.
And to bring it back to Leonard, Grover Stewart being suspended, I think, toasted Leonard.
I agree.
Completely exposed him. If Stewart doesn't get suspended, I think Leonard's still on the team.
Yeah, and the reason being he takes up all them big guys, and Leonard can run free, do what he wants. I just don't think Leonard had the gumption anymore. Not that he's a coward, but I just don't think he had the gumption anymore to stick his nose in there. And I'll say that's because of injury.
If you spend 2 years of your life busting your ass trying to get back and trying to get where you're pain-free, and then you're putting yourself in harm's way, like trying to take on Derrick Henry, good luck. Yeah. Good luck standing in there. I don't know. I'm certain I couldn't do it. What the hell am I talking about?
I will say this. I will say that Minshew can't lose this game. He
right,
cannot
that's
lose
the
his
thing.
mind.
He's got to be clean.
Yeah, he can't lose his mind. He cannot
Moss,
be a moron.
This is a good game for Zach Moss.
Talk about that, because I don't think losing Taylor's that big a deal as it would have been. I like having them both, but you're the rare team that has a guy not as good, but right there.
They're different, but still good.
Right.
I think that Jonathan Taylor last week faced a packed box, like on 44% of his runs. I read that someplace.
Nice.
And he still found a way to get 6 yards of carry. So you do miss him.
Yeah.
But the good thing is that Zach Moss hadn't been carrying the ball 23 to 30 times a game. Jonathan Taylor has given him an opportunity to kind of gather himself. He looks good. He feels good. We talked to him a little bit yesterday in the locker room. So, and the thing that I like about this team, like you can feel it in there when things are going like last year. It wasn't any fun in the light. You just didn't feel right. This year, people are smiling. People are like they're focused. There's a good vibe in that room. So I feel good about it.
You and I talked about that last week. You're in there. All right. But let me go back to Minshew for just a second.
Yeah.
Like, Vrabel's a smart guy. Vrabel, I can't imagine playing a game against the Colts where I don't, for the vast majority of the time, bring real pressure.
Right.
I can't imagine. Because you talk about the top of a defense. Colts don't have anybody taking the top off a defense. Maybe Downs can. But I'm doing whatever football guys do. And I always think it's pressure starting in the middle and all that. But I am bringing so much pressure because I want to make a goal that I got to get the ball from him twice. I got to get 2 turnovers from Minshew minimum in this game to win this game.
Right.
That's what I got to. And how do you do that? I'm punching the ball if he's running.
That's the thing.
I'm hitting him. If I got to take a penalty early for roughing the court, I don't care. Maybe I do it. I'm hitting him. I'm making him the focus, but not particularly
because
Taylor
you speed his clock. His clock gets spent.
Yes, and he's able to. If you go in thinking you can get 2 and plan to get 2 or scheme to get 2, I'm not so sure you can't get 4.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I got a couple fumbles. I'm not, and I got to do that if I'm the Titans.
You're taking away the run and you're trying to take away the short pass, but they don't. They got cover problems. So that's a big deal. That I think that the Colts try to do exactly what they did against the Buccaneers, because Buccaneers are the same deal. I mean, Todd Bowles, smart guy, wants to bring pressure. So what do? They bring pressure here, you throw there, or you run it at them. Mm-hmm. And starting the game, I was at the game, so I didn't hear people talk about it. How many times did Minshew drop back and throw quick passes in the first quarter and a half? It had to be 70% of their plays.
Then you got to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want him hanging on to the ball. I don't want his internal clock working.
Over 2.5 seconds, his productivity goes like into an abyss.
It's funny, there are some guys, and this started with me with Kenny Stabler 100 years ago, when the one time in my youth life they actually played the Bears. I swear to God, every time Kenny Stabler dropped back, when he threw the ball, I thought it was a completion.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time Minshew drops back and he gets rid of the ball in, I'll use your number, 2.5 seconds, I think it's a completion.
Yeah.
Every time he holds on to the football and has to move, I think as much that it could be a turnover or a completion.
Geez.
Here we go. That could be a great play now.
The throw that he made to Downs in Germany, right, where Downs, when he let it go, I was like, oh crap, that's the game. It's going to the other team. I thought that because when he starts scampering inside the pocket all over the place, I'm like, geez, this is terrible. I can't watch.
You just close your eyes and wait for the crowd, and then But it's going to be a beautiful day.
Yeah,
there's going to be
gorgeous.
Nothing with conditions.
Yeah.
And they're fighting for their lives. But the Colts are right now, would you make Steichen the coach of the year? There's some candidates.
He's been really, really good.
He's been good.
Those fourth down calls, he's 5 out of his last 6 going for it on fourth down. He's been really good. And everybody says this, like, you get the same thing from players, no matter who you talk to, what team and in what situation. We got to go 1-0 this week.
Yeah.
It's about our process. It's about the system. We're blah, 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 blah. But these guys, they're saying it with conviction this year. And that's a good thing. Maybe they'll get shed of it in year 3. Like, God almighty, how many times we got to talk about process? Like, they'll just get worn raw by it. But right now, I think they buy it.
I think people have also forgotten how miserable, you talked about it in the locker room, but it was, when Saturday took over and they won the first game, it was here. And by the time it was done, it was boom. It was so low. Yeah. And you got to give him credit. You mentioned the play calls, which is huge. I thought the one to Cox was just unbelievable. But you also got to give him credit, his staff credit, and the players credit for bouncing back from that.
Yeah.
And from an esprit de corps that you're talking about, not only are you bouncing back and competing, but you have an esprit de corps that has sustained, even though you lost the guy that everybody was focusing on, Richardson. So that's a hell of a job by a coaching staff and the players themselves. It's a great job.
And he hired to that. Like Tony Sperano Jr., the offensive line coach, is so different from Chris Strasser. Chris Strasser, it was kind of like Paul Christ. Like they make the assistant coaches available sometimes. So I thought, well, nobody's talking to Strasser. This will kind of be fun. And one question in, I was like, oh, this is why nobody was talking to Strasser. All right. But Sperano has, there's juice to him.
Yeah.
He is a happy guy.
Yeah.
He's coaching his guys, and they vibe with that, at least in the short term.
I agree. You got to have assistant coaches. It can't just be meatheads or the guy that jumps around or the cheerleader. You got to have guys that have substance but have juice to them.
Yeah.
And when you get that, it's rare. And when you get that, it is so helpful for a team, and it is infectious because, look, I think you'd agree with this. Really, professional football players spend more time with the assistant coaches, and college football players, I 100% know. I've spent a week with the college football program. But you got to have some guy that's not going to be like, oh, fuck, I got to go see, Slapdick Johnny, and he's going to my offensive coordinator or whatever, and I got to sit in this room for 3 hours and fuck that.
You got to bring juice.
You got to. And so as we sit here, now look, it can all go sideways, and I'll be ripping everyone's ass if it does. But so will Kent. But hey, look, right now, what are you going to say? Somebody said to me, "Well, I don't hear you ripping Ballard." I go, "Well, they're winning."
Yeah, they've won 3 in a row.
Yeah,
What
what am I doing?
Yeah.
I mean, I've said forever, win. As my father used to tell me, Daniel, I'm with you wintertime, baby. Come on, what are we talking about
Yeah,
here?
it's ridiculous. What do we want? We want them to win 4 games in 3. This is as well as they can do, and they haven't played great competition, and they're not going to play great competition. But I don't give a shit. It doesn't mean anything to me. Winning is good always.
Tell me who Kansas City played during the regular season last year.
Yeah, right.
I mean, Philadelphia got to the Super Bowl. Who they
Colts beat them last year.
Colts have their number a little bit too,
Ooh.
in a weird way.
Chiefs don't want to.
No.
Well, and that goes back a long way.
Right.
There's a lot of
that's what I'm saying.
a trail of tears between the Chiefs and the Colts for Chiefs fans.
I remember back a few years. Well, Andrew Luck lost his mind going in crazy, and then of
Wasn't that
course,
the best?
and then what's his face got hurt. Mahomes got hurt an ankle, and was it a Sunday night? It was a rainy night, whatever it was. Screw the Chiefs. We're better than the Chiefs, and I'm saying we when we win. People don't have me.
They when we lose.
Hell, it's they and them and fuckers.
You can go back to 95 when I think the Colts won 10-7 in the playoffs. In 95, it was like 0 degrees, and the Colts were without Falk, and the defense just nutted up and beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead. It was awesome.
IU basketball. I'm going to go to Purdue first.
Yeah.
I swear, I'm going to keep telling you this, and I want your face. I want your face. I swear to God, I'm not going to be surprised if they're undefeated. I'm telling you, I'm not going to be surprised. And when they are, you can say to me, Dan, I doubted you. But you know what?
In 33 games, you're going
They already got
to
4 or
throw
5
up
in.
a clunker.
They already got 4 or 5 in.
You're going to you do have the guy who's never going to miss because he's 7'4" and he stands under the basket
What I'm saying.
and dunks it like the Chief, and one flew over to Cuckoo's Nest. So...
All I'm saying is when you're in Breslin, and they could lose there, they could lose at Michigan, they could lose at Indiana, no question. But when you're in a tight spot and you're not hitting shots, you throw it in, and he's shooting it from above the rim against a guy who's hanging on for dear life.
You know what? But they're kind of...
Can't they just beat 3 tough teams? I mean, really physically tough.
It's November. This is what they do in November.
No, it's not. They do this in January.
This is the 3rd year in a row.
They do it in January.
They've been number 1 3 years in a row after never being number 1. And they lose to Fairleigh Dickinson. They lose to St. Peter's. My God.
I didn't say they're winning the national championship.
Just through the regular season.
Regular season.
It's been a while since they beat the Hoosiers.
It's been a few minutes.
Yeah.
What, 3 in a row for Indiana?
And you got a big guy. You got Khalil Ware.
Okay.
He's a big guy.
Okay.
He's tall.
Hey, look that way in his zone.
Hey, let me ask
this.
you.
Yeah.
So Painter the other night, Braden Smith is 1 rebound away from a triple-double.
Yeah.
Do you give a shit about that?
He
pulls him.
Yeah, I kind of did. I had a player that I knew was going to break a scoring record, and I'm like, yeah, he's staying out there. I kind of do. Maybe that makes. I saw what Painter said, with respect. Yeah, okay.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Go beat somebody. How about this? Let me ask you about the NBA for a second. Because of the point differential deal in the play-in, the pool.
Yeah.
Teams had to actually compete to the end of the clock.
Yes.
And they felt bad about that.
I know.
Are they out of their minds?
I don't understand.
Go score points.
No.
What is the matter with that? Oh, we've got to respect our opponent. No. You beat the hell out of your opponent. You beat them by as many points as you can, as often as you can. I don't understand thinking differently.
Kent, in every MAC meeting I was ever in, coaches meeting, when we would talk about that kind of thing, I'd say, look, fellas, you're never, ever, ever going to hear me complain if you blow me out and you keep your starter in. I don't care. You're coaching your team. Don't ever complain if I do something you don't like with my own team. Just don't. I mean, it's none of your business. It's none of my business. And I remember that Ray McCollum, my first year, we're playing walk-ons. He kept Bonzi Wells into the bitter end, baby.
Did he really?
Yeah. And I'm like, hey, I don't care. You know what? I don't know if Bonzi Wells is going for some record. He has some string. I don't know. And I like that stuff. I think I've always thought that, you know what, a guy's going for 1,000 points or a guy's going, I don't pay attention to the other team with all that stuff. So do your thing. I don't
Right.
care.
We had, this goes back, like Ryan's a 10-year-old and they're playing CYO. And so Ryan's coach calls a timeout. We're up by like 12 and the game's over.
Yeah.
They can't score against us. And I see everybody in the timeout start to like beam. They're smiling. They're looking at each other. I'm like, what the hell is Zimmerman telling them? And so they come out, and for the last 4 minutes of the game, they're launching from like 25 feet, and they made like 8 in a row. They went from being up 15 to being up in the 40s before the coach could call them off. And after the game, I said, Ryan, what happened? And he said, well, Coach Zimmerman said only shoot threes. He didn't know he could make them.
Yeah.
So they won by 40-plus points, and Zimmerman had to like fight for his job with CYO.
Yeah.
He said, I was trying to be a good sport, but he didn't know the guys could shoot. That's the funniest thing.
But that's my point. You don't know
play.
what's happening.
Right.
Like there's a legendary story at Indiana about Lute Olson. Lute Olson was a first-year coach at Iowa in 76. I think it was 76, might have been 75. And Indiana had a thing about you get a free hamburger at McDonald's if Indiana, think about this thing.
Yeah.
Think about this promotion. If Indiana scores over 100 and you hold the opponent to less than 50. So the crowd is chanting hamburger, hamburger. And Olson goes at batshit crazy in the press conference. Indiana fans are disrespectful. They're calling us hamburger. They're chewing us up. And whoever it was goes, hey, coach, here's what that was. He goes, oh.
Never mind.
Oh, well, can we erase, the...
Oh, that's really
But
funny.
you don't know. You never know.
right.
So just do your thing, play your game, play better, and then figure it out. I don't know. Can you imagine, though? Hey, if we score 100 and they don't score 50, like, sheesh, in a Big Ten game, and Indiana was able... I think he only did it once, but they did it. All right, Indiana starts Big Ten play. I don't know, 2 players on Maryland.
No.
I know the coach, Willard's a pretty good coach, but I said when they fired Turgeon, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Because he was a pretty good coach that recruited with Under Armour to a pretty high level. But did Indiana get better against Harvard?
I think they did. I think they looked better. The offense was more pleasing to the eye, right?
The shots went in.
Yeah, and because the ball moved.
Post went in, yeah.
Once Xavier, that's sad. Once he got hurt and he was sitting in his T-shirt, the ball started moving, and all of a sudden, because the ball's moving, you got open looks and you knock them down. So, I mean, they kind of played back and tried to make Indiana shoot it, and Indiana did.
Yeah.
So, I like the way the team kind of felt in the second half, the way they played together. I don't know, they won that half by 13 or 14. So of course you're going to like it better, but I don't know.
As I looked at the Big Ten, I think Purdue's really good. I think Michigan State's going to be really good. Michigan State loses to good teams, but I watch them and I'm like, all right, they'll figure this out. They got Malik Hall figured out how to play with the Walker kid. I think Illinois is pretty good. And I don't think Michigan's as good as I thought. I watched Michigan play St. John's, and I thought, wow. Whoa. Like, it wasn't just that they
but then they get beat by Texas Tech.
I know, and Texas Tech stinks.
Yeah.
I don't think Wisconsin's very good. I think the Big Ten is... I think Indiana can have some real success in the Big Ten. I just don't know what that means. I don't know if that means can win the Big Ten. I don't think they can. I don't think they can beat Purdue. I don't think they'll finish ahead of Michigan State. I think Minnesota's terrible. I watched 5 minutes of them, and I'm like, my God. Minnesota at least used to have a good player or two.
Right.
Rick Reichert, that Humphreys, that Marion. I mean, somebody was always like, damn.
Yeah.
They stinks.
Not good. And that's another be careful what you wish for. They keep swapping out coaches, and it seems like they keep taking kind of a stair step down.
No, you like the Big Ten starting this week?
I don't like that. I really don't. I get it. At some point you get tired of beating the hell out of Kennesaw State and you want to move on to important games, but I don't like it. I don't think nobody's ready. I'm not ready for Big Ten basketball yet. I like it. You go out, you have New Year's Eve, you have a great time, you eat $50 worth of tacos from Taco Bell on New Year's Day. Then you're ready for Big Ten basketball.
I like Big Ten basketball. I mean, what was it, 6 years ago? It used to start on New Year's Day. I would watch it. Indiana was playing, I remember doing a game. I did an Indiana-Michigan game at Indiana, yeah, because I drove home and my daughter was like a freshman and she had a New Year's Eve party at our house. And I went downstairs and all the boys were talking to me and all the girls were mad. I'm like, fellas, hey, what'd you think, Mr. D of Indiana? What'd you know? Well, because we're Indiana fans. And I remember everybody hand checked. Let's go. Let's go. You in the closet. Get out here, you two. What are you doing? But no, I'm with you. The MAC did that. And I remember thinking to myself, man, we got to win this because no matter what happens, we're 1-0 in the league.
Yeah, right.
Like, right? No matter what. Like, we had a gauntlet one time. We had to play Alabama. They were number 1 in the country in Mobile. We had to play Michigan. And then a third one was Florida State, I think. It was 3 in a row. And I'm like, okay, we're 1-0 in the league. Right? We're 1-0. Right. That's in the MAC anyway. That's what you play.
And conversely, if they lose these games against Maryland and Michigan, you're 0-2 with losses against Maryland and Michigan. Mm-hmm. And that hard to kind of, keep your head above water if that's where you're at.
You poo-pooed my undefeated Purdue. You gave it the big poo-poo.
Yeah.
Are you giving it the poo-poo because just history says it's not going to happen? Or do you have a scenario, a place in mind that that Purdue wouldn't be favored or should lose? Let's say should lose.
I tend to believe in things that I've seen.
Yeah.
I've never seen what you're describing.
Undefeated?
So I don't believe in it.
It's not Indiana. You're old enough.
Purdue.
Oh, yeah.
Right? If they're really good though.
I mean,
they're tough. They're a hard-nosed group that plays and effort travels, and they play tough. So toughness travels.
They could have lost all 3 of those games.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have been a bad loss. It would not have been a bad loss because I know Tennessee laid an egg last night, but Tennessee did not lay an egg against Purdue. It was a tough, you got to make a decision how you want to play in this game.
I even like the way they take the floor. Like back in the day, Indiana, when you guys came out of the locker room, you looked like an organized, tough guy unit. Purdue's got that now.
I agree.
Indiana doesn't.
No. Indiana looks just like every other team.
Right.
You go to a game, guys are dicking around, your music's going. It's like Memphis.
Yeah.
No difference. I did a game in Memphis. It's like Memphis. I was like, all right, this is what drives me nuts. There's nothing special about Indiana, and it drives me batshit crazy. It does not matter if Indiana goes out and wins a bunch. I get that. But until they do, I'm just saying.
This is why, and I know you guys, the candy stripes. All right. The candy stripes and the frock with the cursive Indiana on the back.
Yeah.
It's all that's left for us to see from you guys running out of the floor and looking like, okay, we're going to punch somebody in the mouth. It's the last vestige of that. And so I don't want it to go away.
But people don't care about that if you win.
No, if you become tough, then you brand the outfit that you're wearing as being representative of that, right?
Yeah, but
that's what we do with the candy stripes and the frock.
I think the candy stripes are, I think they're like I don't know. I never, they were so horribly uncomfortable and ridiculous.
Were they really?
Oh my God, they would bind up here and then flare out here and you're always pulling them and you're like, can I take these things off? They were thick polyester nylon. I don't know what the hell it is. It was horrible. I mean, it was cool the first 10 times you put them on. Then you're like, can we run out without these pants?
Number one, congratulations on your pending enshrinement into the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. That is a wonderful honor. And Julie told me what she sent you in a text, and it's something that I didn't think of, but I thought immediately your dad had loved this.
Yeah, she said that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
The second thing, did you see the picture that the Star used in as part of their commemoration of this class, and you're being in it?
I didn't see a picture of me.
It's you with Uwe to your left and Hillman to your right, and you're holding the runner-up trophy from the NIT. And you're looking at it like, why am I holding this piece of shit that represents utter mediocrity? You've got that look on your face. I was like, these people just won't stop.
They won't stop.
It was unbelievable. But congratulations.
Thanks.
You, Pete
Thanks.
Smith,
Yeah.
who I've known for a long time,
Yeah.
and you've known for a long time, you're going in together, and I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it shocked me. I mean, truthfully, it's like, like in my world, I never imagined being in any Hall of Fame. I mean, I just loved playing basketball and got great. First thing I did, though, I'll tell you what I did. I called my mom, I called my brother, I called my sister, and I called two guys immediately. I called Kevin Page and Mike Paulson. Paulson's a kid in Miss Freeland. Well, I called them and I thanked them, and I want them to be my guests at the induction if they have the time. Mike lives in Utah and Kevin lives in Lafayette, West Lafayette, because we all grew up together. I had to sit out a year of high school because of a bone disease that I had, and they were seniors when I was a junior, and I never played with anybody, including Alfred, including anybody that wanted to win more than those two guys.
Really?
It's unbelievable. If I was open, they got me the ball, and constantly. And they had no ego with it. Kevin and I were like the stars of our St. Peter and Paul team, and then I become the scorer, and Kevin's the defensive guy, and they never had an ego. All they wanted to do was win. I've never been around two guys that wanted to win more than that. So I called them up and I said, look, I can't thank you guys enough. And I've told them other times that, thanks, you guys got me a scholarship and all that stuff. But and then I thought about that fucking Doyle who wrote that, I won't get in the Hall of Fame because nobody will go vouch for me. Because he was going to go vouch for me. You have to go vouch. You have to have somebody go in September to the committee, all right? So Greg Doyle, the writer, asked if he could do that for me. And then I found out what Doyle was doing with married women. Like, he admitted to one affair in the article on me, but I knew multiple. Young married women. I've always thought you're a big-time coward if you hit on young married women that just had kids because they're very vulnerable, and he did. So I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. I'll get it covered. You don't need to do that. Because I didn't want him representing me or my family. I wanted him nowhere around. So that article comes out, and it was at my golf outing. And at that golf outing last year, I had probably 15 different people that I knew that came in, including my high school baseball coach, Dave Pisker. He had seen the article. He goes, that's bullshit. He goes, I'm going down there next week. Or in September, I guess is what it was, a couple months. I go, really? He goes, yeah, it's all set. He goes, what's this guy talking about? I must have had 20 people that said, hey, Dan, I didn't know you even had to do that. I'd totally forgotten about it. So when I thought about that, I thought, it's just such bullshit that the Star just lies. Absolutely fine. So my high school coach, Dave Pisker, who's the winningest high school coach ever in the state of Indiana, went down, drove 3 hours one way, and talked to him. And I didn't get in last year, but I got in this year, and it surprised me. Yeah, but I thought about those things. But Kevin Page and Mike Paulson were like first two guys I thought of calling because they're seniors. Andrean always had they never played. I didn't make the varsity as a sophomore. I was on a JV, and those two guys sat on the bench as juniors. They could have wanted to be about themselves, and they weren't.
Right.
So, anyway,
that's a great thing about basketball.
Yeah.
You got a choice to make. Are you about you, or are you about us?
Yeah. And you know what? I never played on a team. Ever. Even the next year when Kevin and Mike left, and we had a good guard, Danny Hanlon, good guards, we were good and all that, but I never played on a team that was like that ever again. Closest I ever came was 84 when we beat Jordan and them. About halfway through the season, we got kind of like that.
You don't
get that every year.
And it's the best feeling that you can have, and it's so elusive.
Yeah.
It can go away like that. It can come like that. And I don't, obviously there's no magic potion to make it happen or some magic coaching behavior or piece of leadership from a player. It just happens.
Yeah.
And when you're in it, it's just the best.
Yeah. Kevin and I used to, after every game, we'd win. And by the time we were even leaving, you go, man, we got Hammond Morton coming up. They got that Elo kid. They're going to kick our ass. And I was legitimately serious about it, and then we'd win by 20, and it'd be like, man, we got West Side coming up. Gary West Side got that Terrence Duncan. He's first team all, blah, blah, blah. And they were just that kind of guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you don't always get that. You get, like now in college basketball, you got to take the temperature of players after every game.
Right.
Who's pissed, whose mom's pissed, whose dad's pissed, agent's pissed. But but again, I don't mean this to disparage any teammates I had at Indiana were awesome. But Brian Sloan was all those freshman kids, Hillman and those guys were great, and then Whitman and Kitchell were fantastic, and Jimmy, they were all great. The one thing that Coach Knight said that turned out really to be true, other than, no, pretty much true. You know what? You're going to play with guys that you don't mind bringing to your house.
Yeah.
On a weekend. The only guy I wouldn't have brought around was John Flowers, but I ended up really liking John Flowers. But he was certifiably insane. But anyway, thanks for mentioning that. It was a shock.
I think it's phenomenal.
Well,
long overdue, but you know what? Like Ron Santo. Well, he passed away sadly beforehand. But you don't get to choose your time to be enshrined. Yeah. It happens, and it's wonderful when it does.
You know what's great? Like your high school probably has a list of, New Albany, 1,000-point scorers and all that. Yeah. So about 10 years ago, the Hall of Fame asked me, sent me questionnaires about my credentials. They said, just send it to your AD, he'll have it all. Andrean had no idea.
Yeah.
So my brother pointed this out to me because I didn't read the article. My brother sent it to me, and it's like Dan averaged 20 whatever, and roughly 7.5 rebounds. So I read the article, and I'm like, well, that's not right. That's not right. No, I didn't do that. I'm reading it because my high school didn't know.
Right.
And I knew. The one thing I did know in high school is I knew that I scored 1,000 points. That's the only thing I knew. I didn't know.
That's in 2 years.
Yeah, it was in 2 years. But it was like one of those deals where I grew up such a fan, and I always remember, like at Calumet High School where my dad was, that they would stop the game and give a guy a ball for 1,000. My high school had no idea that I did. No clue whatsoever. It was great. They didn't care. It was like, Andrean.
You know who wins, you know who loses.
Yeah, and I don't even think Andrean cared about that, seriously, for a long time.
Really?
But yeah, they do now, and it's good. But yeah, thanks.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. That's what I always say. Kent's the perfect guy because, like, New Albany or Newcastle probably has like 6 leaders. Andrean, shit. Hey, how many points Luke Herringody score? Oh. Oh, man. What else we got? Anything?
No, looking forward to seeing you down in Nashville.
I want to ask this question to you. I saw this today. It's the semifinals of the NBA in-season tournament, and the Pacers are in it.
Yeah.
Is this a deal, a big deal, no deal? Where are you at with this deal?
For me, like the biggest, I get comments all the time, can you explain the format of the tournament to me?
No.
And I say, well, I have no idea how this works. I guess the tournament games count toward the regular season, these bracketed games, that quarterfinals for the Pacers Monday against the Celtics. And sadly, the Celtics are going to beat the Pacers.
Celtics are a 3 seed.
Yeah.
Pacers are a 2 seed. Pacers
figure.
are better.
Yeah, okay. But I don't know whether these games replace a future regular season. I have so many questions about this. I have no idea. I guess the guys get cash.
$500,000
if they win.
$500,000
for each player.
Each player.
Oh.
Yeah.
That'd get my take. Even if I'm making $40 million a year like Halliburton,
I don't care.
I still like $500,000.
You're damn right you do.
Yeah.
Oh, that spends. That spends.
But it means nothing to me at all. I have no idea. We got
questions. We got a big chat.
There it is. Let's see here.
Okay. Thank you, Gary Moore.
Gary, congratulations on making the Hall of Fame. Very nice.
Thank you, Gary. $5, big paper. Thank you very much.
Colts gonna win.
I think
Pacers are gonna lose on Monday. I think Butler wins tonight against Texas Tech. Purdue.
Why are they playing Texas Tech
tomorrow night? It is the Big East Big 12 Challenge.
All right, last thing.
Yeah.
The ACC SEC Challenge, the Big Ten, I think, maybe I'm just a homer, but I got no interest in that.
No.
Used to pay attention to like the Big Ten beat the ACC.
Yep.
No. If you want to do the ACC SEC Football Challenge, then I got some salt in it.
Right.
You feel that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, good.
Big Ten and the ACC are the two preeminent conferences. Them going at each other.
Yes.
A lot of heritage, a lot of fun, all good. 100%.
Man, I saw that last night because I didn't know why two teams were playing.
Good Lord. Butler and Texas Tech. Throw out the record books when the Big East and the Big 12 hook up. God bless Butler. I want him to win.
That's at Hinkle, right?
Yeah, it's at Hinkle. Historic
You
Hinkle
go?
Fieldhouse. No.
Do you get press passes to everything?
I could.
Yeah. I need to do that.
I could. I used to go. I used to go when Holtman was the coach at Butler. When Butler and Villanova played, it was tough guy basketball, man. Wow. It was every single possession was a war. It was beautiful to watch. I loved that. But I like going to Hinkle and watch, and I guess I don't have time at this point. I mean, I'm working like 14 hours a day. It's insane. I got to turn it off. I don't know what's going on.
You're becoming the media magnate of all of Indianapolis.
Well, in Indianapolis, who you got? You got me, you got you.
You got Holder.
That's it.
You got Holder. Is Kiefer still writing?
You do. He writes nationally, so we don't see him. But Chap, I was talking to Chap and George Bremer today at the Colts, and I love those guys. And
whatever happened to Philip
B. Wilson?
Yeah, what happened to him?
I don't know. I haven't seen Philip in a while. I haven't. I don't know what he's doing. He's not at games anymore. So very nice man. Conrad Brunner, nice guy really that I enjoyed. Mark Monteith. You've got really good guys who are no longer working, and I can't figure out why.
Do you have any scoop on college football transfers? Just asking.
No.
Quarterback transfers?
No, like decommitting.
We know Danny decommitted, but we have any.
We don't know where he's going. No.
I saw his guy went to San Diego State.
He did. Sean Lewis took the job at San Diego State.
Is it fair for me to say that San Diego State, or is it fair to me to say that many of these decommits are because of the treatment of Sean Lewis and maybe Sean Lewis leaving?
There's probably some of that, but Danny came out in the media and said, I can't remember the exact quote, so I won't say it, but it was not a positive thing toward Colorado and how things have kind of turned dysfunctional there, which obviously they have. You can't just treat everybody like they're pieces of shit and maintain any kind of order within your program.
No, particularly, and this is, and Sanders had it right. His kids are good enough; they should be playing. But in basketball, your kids either got to be the best or the worst player on the team.
Yeah,
and
right.
You can show no favoritism in any freaking way.
Right.
And I think that's a problem. At least I've heard that's a problem. I don't know. I always want you to break news now.
Yeah, well, I
want you to add
breaking news. But I don't have any.
So we broke the news that the guy from James Madison's the coach.
We don't know that 100%. Is that they're gonna? You don't announce this kind of thing on a Friday. I don't think.
Friday news dump.
Yeah, that's no good.
You got to have a ceremony. You got to get the band there. You got to get. We still have Red Steppers.
The Red Steppers. I don't know. I think that their participation is only at Briscoe floor parties. You can get the Red Steppers to show up and do a little routine, and then they go to 9B, and then off they are to 3A.
Could never get them over to the nerd dorm of Reed. We could never get them that far into campus. They always stayed by Assembly Hall.
Yep. There are a lot of Red Steppers in Briscoe, that's for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys. See you later.